Hi guys, you are welcome to the example room. So on this channel we are going to be solving a lot of math problems with examples, hence the name example room. I want you to do two things for me. First, to subscribe to this channel, and secondly, to like this very video for me. So today we are going to be solving questions or examples on three set problems. So come with me as we delve deep into this topic. Okay, assuming this whole circle represents A, this whole part represents B, the last part represents C. I want you to know these three main things. That first of all, A intersection B intersection C, meaning that where A meets B and C, which is this particular point, I'm going to shade this point with a white chalk. Can you see the white chalk? Where A meets B and C is being shaded with a white chalk. Also, where A and B meet, where they intersect, where they meet, has been shaded with an orange chalk right here. The next one, where B and C intersect, or where B and C meet, has been shaded with a red chalk. Finally, where C and A meet, has been shaded here with an with a yellow chalk. A only, B only, C only is the next part I want to show you. So A only is the region, this region. So this region doesn't have any other thing attached. It doesn't have B in it, it doesn't have C in it. Looking at this part, B only. This very region doesn't have A, it also doesn't have C. Now the final region is C only, which is a region which is very different or very separate from A and B. Hence, this part is A only, this part is B only, and the last part is C only. Let's move to example 1. Okay, so this is our example 1. The question is, students were interviewed to find out which of the following three sports they like: football, boxing, and volleyball. 70% of the students like football, 60% boxing, and 45% volleyball. 45% like football and boxing. 15% like volleyball, 25% like football and volleyball, and 5% like all three subjects. Draw a Venn diagram to illustrate this information. Okay, so from the question, you have to first write your preamble down. So first of all, you write, let you represent the total number of students, not necessarily you, but then any alphabet of your choice. Secondly, you write the letter F. I'm choosing F because F stands for football, and B for boxing, B for volley. So after writing all these, I want you to write what the question says. So from here, you can see the question says, some students were interviewed to find out which of the following three sports they like. 70% of them chose football, so this, and number of people who like football is 70. 60% chose boxing, 45% chose volleyball. Now, 45% also chose football and volleyball as their preferred game. Moving here, you see that 15% chose volleyball and then football. So here I'm going to write what 15. B intersection B is what 15. Now, for football and volleyball, we had 25% from the question choosing football and volleyball as their preferred game. So here I'm going to write 25%. Then finally, the question added that 5% chose football, boxing, and volleyball. So hence 5%. Let's move on to draw our Venn diagram. Okay, so this is how the Venn diagram is going to look like. So this circle being football is 70%. This circle being boxing was given to us as 60%. So that's how we have here B equal to 60. Then finally, volleyball was given to be 45%. That's why we have 45 over here. Now let's go to the other part. When we have F intersection B, which is this particular circle intersecting with this particular one. When we say intersection, it means that where F and then B meet. So where F and B meet was represented with this red chalk. So the whole thing, where this circle and this circle meet is given by this whole part. Now moving on. Where boxing and volleyball meet has been colored with a yellow chalk. Also, where football and then volleyball meet have been colored with an orange chalk. Okay, now the question stated one very important thing at the end, that the number of students who chose football, basketball and volleyball was 5%. So that 5%, I'm going to put that in the middle here. That means that they like all three. So this middle is where this circle, and this circle meet. Hence we have 5 in the middle. Moving on, where football and volleyball meet is this whole part. But the question gave us that side to be 25%. So if this whole thing, let's do this small calculation, if this whole thing is 25%, this whole thing is 25%, and then one small part is 5%, it means that the rest is what? 20. Okay, using the same analogy, the question gave us football intersection boxing as 45%, which has been colored with the red chalk. So if the whole thing is supposed to be 45 and then a small section of it is 5, then it means that the rest of it is going to be what? 40%. Now, the last one, this part. The question gave us boxing and then volleyball to be 15%. So if, once again, if the whole thing, which has been shaded with this yellow chalk, if the whole thing was given to us as 15%, then the rest of it is going to be what? 10%. Finally, we have to denote this part, which is the only, as we saw in the earlier explanation. This part only, which is football only, is going to be denoted with a small letter. Let's choose A. Now, boxing only, which is this part, we denoted with a small letter B. And finally, volleyball only, which is here, is going to be denoted with a small letter C. In the end, this is how our Venn diagram is going to look like. Let's move on to write equations for A, equations for B, and equations for C. What does that mean? This whole circle, we understand this whole circle is given to us as people who chose football. So that means that when we add every single thing here, that's put together this 70. So A plus 40 plus 5 plus 20 should be equal to this 70. So instead of 5F, I'm going to put 70 here. So let's do it together. A plus 40. Let's do this together. A plus 40 plus 5 plus 20. I mean, adding all this should give us 65. To solve for A, using the basic mathematics principle, 65 goes to the other side, it becomes 70 minus 65, being equal to A. 70 minus 65 is 5. That means that A is equal to 5. Hence, only 5% like football only. Moving on, let's write an equation for boxing and another equation for volleyball. Okay, so let's move on to write an equation for boxing. We are going to have B, capital B, being equal to 40 plus 5 plus 10 plus a small alphabet B. Now, B was given to us in the question as 60%. So 60 is equal to 40 plus 5 plus 10 plus our alphabet B. So 40 plus 5 plus 10 gives us 55. So 60 is equal to 55 plus B. Now 60 minus 55 is equal to B. B is equal to what? 5. This means that 5% of students like only boxing. Let's move on to write an equation for volleyball. So we are going to have here B will be equal to 20 plus 5 plus 10 plus our alphabet C. Now, with this particular one, adding 20 to 5 and 10 gives us 35. And from the question, we know B as 45 or 45%. So finally for C, we are going to have this. 45 minus 25 gives us 10. So C is 10, meaning that 10% of students like only volleyball. In the end, this is how the Venn diagram is going to look like. So we are going to use this Venn diagram to answer the questions that we saw earlier. The first question reads, use your Venn diagram to find the percentage of students who like football or boxing but not volleyball. So to do this, this is what we have to do. This part represents football only. This part represents those who like football. This part represents those who like football and boxing only, which is a 40. So those who like football and boxing only. Then the final part, where the 5 is, represents those who like only boxing. So what the question is asking us is that they are trying to find out which students chose football or boxing, but not volleyball. So we are going to add these figures, 5, 40, and 5. Adding these will give us 50 or 50%. Question is asking that find the number of students who like exactly 2 sports. Looking at the Venn diagram, we said the red part represents the number of students who like football and boxing, which is this part. This part represents the number of students who like boxing and volleyball, which is the yellow part. The yellow part is not so clear, but I'm sure it can be seen. The final part is the football and then volleyball only, which is this 20. So to find the number of students who like exactly 2 sports, I'm going to add this 40, this 10, and then this 20, which is football and boxing only, which is here, boxing and volleyball only, which is here, and then football and volleyball only, which is this 20. So adding 40, 10, and 20 gives us 70 or 70%. Final question is asking us to find the number of students who did not like any of the 3 sports, which is football, boxing, and volleyball. So how do we find this? Let's put D in our Venn diagram. So ideally, when you add everything in your Venn diagram, it should sum up to this 100. So when you add everything and then you're not getting 100, it means that there are some students who do not like any of the sports. So let's try adding them and see. 50, 55 plus 40 plus 5. 5 plus 40 plus 5. Moving on, I come to add this one. Plus 10 plus 5 plus 20 plus 10 should be, no, plus 10 plus D, which is the new thing that we added, should be equal to 100%. Pause. Adding all these should give us 95. 95 plus D, 100. So obviously, getting 95 means that there are some people who did not like any of the 3 sports. Moving on. 100 and 95 goes to the other side. We have 100 minus 95. So B is equal to 5. So that means that 5% did not like any of the 3 sports. This brings us to the end of example 1. Stay tuned for our next example.